Donald Trump's latest rally in Georgia was nothing short of disastrous, as droves of attendees left midway through his speech, signaling that even his most loyal supporters may be growing tired of his erratic behavior. Held in South Georgia, the event was supposed to be a platform for Trump to deliver a robust message ahead of the 2024 election. However, what unfolded was an incoherent ramble, punctuated by strange asides, personal grievances, and bizarre commentary on topics far removed from the pressing political issues of the day. In an era where political rallies serve as a critical connection between leaders and their base, Trump's event in Georgia appeared to backfire spectacularly. The sight of people walking out as he spoke was a glaring signal that his message, or lack thereof, no longer resonates with the intensity it once did. Throughout the rally, Trump seemed distracted, offering more self-praise than actual policy, drawing criticism for his inability to stay on message or address the concerns of his audience. This video delves into the highlights and lowlights of Trump's disastrous speech in Georgia, analyzing the key moments where things went off the rails. We'll also explore the broader implications for his campaign and what this moment might signify for the future of the 2024 election. The walkout, a telling sign of discontent. The most telling moment of Trump's rally in South Georgia wasn't something he said, it was what his audience did. Attendees, many wearing the familiar red "Make America Great Again" hats, began leaving the venue while Trump was still mid-speech. As he rambled on about his cognitive abilities and made outlandish statements, it became clear that even some of his staunchest supporters had had enough. The walkout began slowly at first, with a few individuals quietly slipping out, but soon, larger groups followed. By the end of his speech, the crowd had noticeably thinned, leaving swaths of empty seats, a stark contrast to the packed crowds that were a hallmark of his 2016 campaign. The sight of a dwindling audience marks a significant shift for Trump, whose rallies were once characterized by an unwavering, enthusiastic base. The rambling speech, from cognitive abilities to hair complaints. Much of Trump's speech seemed disconnected from the core issues that typically resonate with his base. Rather than focusing on policy, Trump spent a significant portion of the event defending his cognitive abilities, offering a bizarre anecdote about forgetting to pick up his phone and claiming that critics would use this as evidence that he is cognitively imbalanced. People say I'm cognitively imbalanced because I didn't pick up the phone. Well, I put it down and I never picked it up again, Trump mused, adding to the confusion. Mid-speech, he suddenly shifted topics to comment on his own appearance, particularly his hair. "Look at my hair. I don't like my hair tonight," he said, further alienating his audience, many of whom had come to hear about the state of the economy, immigration, and other pressing national issues, not Trump's personal grooming. Yearning for 1798? Trump's bizarre, historical reference. One of the most confusing moments of the rally came when Trump suggested that America needs to return to the year 1798 for effective laws. Think of that. We had to go back to 1798. That's when we had laws that were effective, Trump stated, leaving many in the audience bewildered. The year 1798, a period in U.S. history known for the passage of the controversial Alien and Sedition Acts, seemed like an odd and impractical point of reference. Many political analysts have since commented on this statement, noting that it reflects Trump's penchant for romanticizing the past without a clear understanding of historical context. His supporters, many of whom prioritize issues like jobs, healthcare, and immigration, were likely left scratching their heads at this peculiar historical reference. Nixon comparisons and obsessions with phone calls. Trump's fixation on his past conversations and desire to record them also made an appearance during the speech. He even compared himself to former President Richard Nixon, notorious for the Watergate scandal that involved secret tape recordings. "Every time I think about taping my conversations, I think of Richard Nixon. And then I say, maybe not," Trump quipped. This was an odd admission, as Nixon's tapes were central to his eventual resignation in disgrace. For Trump to bring this up, especially at a time when he faces multiple criminal investigations, seemed not only tone-deaf but also indicative of a growing detachment from the concerns of his supporters. The projection, attacking opponents while deflecting criticism. As Trump's speech became increasingly erratic, he began launching personal attacks on his political opponents, using language that many have described as pure projection. He labeled his political rival, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, as a real sicko, in a moment that seemed to mirror accusations Trump himself has faced. Trump also called J.D. Vance, a Republican senator and ally, weird, further alienating members of his own party. This type of attack, coupled with his inability to articulate a clear policy platform, suggests that Trump may be more focused on settling personal scores than on advancing the political discourse. Energy independence claims, ignoring the facts. One of the few policy-related points Trump attempted to make during the speech was about energy independence. "We will quickly become energy dependent again," he declared, inaccurately implying that the United States is currently energy dependent. In fact, under the Biden administration, the U.S. has achieved significant strides toward energy independence, particularly through investments in renewable energy and domestic production. By failing to acknowledge these facts and instead pushing a misleading narrative, Trump further distanced himself from the reality of current economic policies. His failure to offer any substantial plan to improve the energy sector only deepened the sense of disconnection between his rhetoric and the issues that matter most to voters. Attacking Vice President Kamala Harris, personal insults over policy. Trump also used the rally as an opportunity to attack Vice President Kamala Harris, resorting to juvenile name-calling and personal insults rather than addressing any substantive policy differences. "She's a low IQ individual," Trump stated, offering no evidence to support his claim. These kinds of baseless personal attacks are typical of Trump's rhetoric, but they do little to convince undecided voters or shore up support among moderates. In contrast, Harris has focused on addressing national issues, particularly in regard to the economy and immigration reform, presenting herself as a serious and competent alternative to Trump's bluster. Immigration fearmongering, a common theme. True to form, Trump continued his fearmongering about immigrants, claiming that towns across America are being overrun by migrants. He exaggerated the number of migrants in small towns and claimed that the influx is only beneficial for politicians running for office. "It's only good if you're a politician running against them," Trump said, continuing his well-worn narrative of vilifying immigrants. Such claims have been debunked time and again, with many of the fears Trump stokes proving to be based on misinformation. This reliance on divisive rhetoric further alienates centrist voters and undermines any effort to create a more inclusive national conversation. Trump's obsession with his enemies, a distraction from real issues. Throughout his speech, Trump repeatedly returned to the subject of his enemies, both real and imagined. He railed against media outlets like CBS and 60 Minutes, suggesting that they should have their licenses revoked for being dishonest. Trump's attack on the media has been a hallmark of his political career, but his latest outbursts seemed particularly desperate and detached from the real issues facing the nation. As his campaign continues, it remains to be seen whether the strategy of attacking enemies will resonate with voters or whether it will further erode his base of support. Trump's rally in South Georgia was a critical misstep in what appears to be an increasingly chaotic 2024 campaign. The walkout, the incoherent rambling, the personal attacks, and the detachment from real issues all signal that Trump may be losing his grip on the political landscape that once catapulted him to the presidency. While his diehard supporters may continue to back him, the sight of attendees walking out halfway through his speech serves as a powerful reminder that even they have limits. With each passing rally, Trump's ability to deliver a coherent, inspiring message seems to be waning, raising serious questions about his viability as a candidate in the 2024 election. In contrast, Vice President Kamala Harris has positioned herself as a serious contender, focused on addressing the issues facing America. As Trump continues to stumble, figures like Harris are stepping up, offering voters a clear alternative to his chaotic and divisive leadership. The future of American politics may very well be shaped by moments like this, where the spectacle of a once powerful leader unraveling in front of his supporters marks a turning point in the nation's political discourse.